Namaste, Jai Bharat. The Siliguri corridor that is connecting the rest of Bharat with the northeastern Bharat. The northeastern Bharat we normally call it as Purvanchal, and sometimes Seven Sisters. Now, of course, it is eight. We call it as Ashtalakshmi. In some other terms, we call it as Assam and adjoining states. There are 7 plus 1, 8 states in the northeastern part of Bharat, which are now well developed with all facilities. We have airport there, everything there. So, this Muhammad Yunus of Bangladesh, he's a no one there actually, he's a nobody. He's an advisor planted by we know who. And then he just let the Jamaat Islami loose, thinking that he would get Islamic support, the radical Islam support. He is correct also to a larger extent, though it's not long lasting. So his strategy he wants to continue in power. Someone was sitting somewhere and suddenly he was brought in and made in charge of a state out of the blue, and he is running there in the sense he is sitting there. And I don't know, I'm not very clear and judgmental about the Bangladesh army, but it appears they are very responsible kind of people. The Wakharul something Zaman, yes, Wakharul Zaman, the chief of the army, youngster, appears to be more sensible, responsible, with forethoughts, because he understands very well that he is a sensible person, it seems, because he understands very well that Bangladesh simply can't survive without help, support, everything from Bharat. He understands this perfectly. So he knows his existential status. But Muhammad Yunus is not bothered, because his situation is that he is now the advisor, in the sense someone who is running Bangladesh affairs, like a president or a prime minister, something like that. So he doesn't want to leave the chair. The chair, of course, he wants to hold. Authority he wants to hold. Power he wants to hold. And to continue holding power, he is ready for any compromise, including his authority. He wouldn't exercise his entire authority except the position for prolonging his stay as the head of the state. He is practically the head of the state. So, one of his strategies was that to let the radical Islam loose, because that if the radical Islam feels that this man is for them, who would let the radical Islam act as they think, with all kinds of including Sharia law or things like that, so he let them loose, and whatever they have done, he didn't object to them. They really have a free hand in Bangladesh, the radical Islam. And to that extent, he has released many Jamaat Islami people who were imprisoned earlier by the earlier regime. So now his crisis is that he wants to continue to be in power. Suppose there's an election, he can't. So he wants to become something like a dictator. And he's not very sure of the support of the army. So he's trying to play all kinds of gimmicks and dirty politics. This man, no one trusts this man in the world, and he also can't trust anyone. So he can't depend on Bharat very well, because Bharat wouldn't support his nefarisms. So he let loose the radical Islam who had done atrocities to the minority Hindu population in Bangladesh, which is in the news and people have seen it. Now this man had done, he wanted to desperately meet our Prime Minister. For a long time he was trying, and this is what I don't understand. What does he think of himself? He'll come and talk to someone and they would believe him. No one is going to trust him, because his very facial appearance is one that is extremely cunning. I wouldn't say that first word. Extremely cunning. I mean, look at his eyes. Very cunning looks. So this man is not trustworthy. You can see, read it from his face. In Sanskrit we have a theory of Samudriga Lakshana. We understand. Even leaving the theater alone, even otherwise we understand. So what he has done, he was trying desperately to meet Prime Minister. He could not in the normal. So he met when they went for a summit. So he takes off to China. And he tries to tell China that Bharat is cut off. The only connection is chicken neck. Siliguri corridor. He has no idea how strongly Siliguri corridor is maintained. He has no idea. He just assumes things and presumes things. That's the problem with him. And he has no strong advisors gives him who would give him data that is correct data. They would sing in his tune. That's it. Because no one is sincere to him, no one is honest to him, no one really wants him to be there except the radical Islam for their own nefarious purposes. So this person goes to China and does another foolish thing of rather, I don't know implicitly or explicitly, but I think it's explicitly invites China as if China doesn't know, saying that the northeastern Bharat is not well connected to Bharat. There's only one corridor strip of land. So, and then they have no port. The only port is Chittagong. Therefore, they control the matter of fact affairs. But this fool, and China knows very well that how foolish this is. He is trying to entice China to make some kind of corridor to Bangladesh directly from China, and he wants to sit there till he dies, most likely. And whatever happens to the people of Bangladesh, whatever happens to the state of Bangladesh, he doesn't bother because he had long left Bangladesh and lives in a foreign nation. He has no commitment to the nation of Bangladesh. So what he says, what he suggests is that we control the ocean. That's a message he gave explicitly to China. He spoke and I saw the video. He's telling guardian of ocean, etc. He's telling. But then, just next to the Chittagong we can take over any time if you go for an aggression. That is a very far-flung choice option. So next to Chittagong we have a naval base, much stronger than what they can imagine. Then we have another naval base in Visakhapatnam, much bigger. I don't want to say the names of the naval base. Many people say, "Why?" As a veteran, I would never say that. We have this Visakhapatnam, which of course you can't dream of having such a base. Then of course Chennai. Okay, this on the Coromandel coast. These on the Coromandel coast of Bharat. How about the Bay of Bengal? How about the Andaman and Nicobar Islands? 564 islands, if I'm not wrong. How about the Andaman and Nicobar Islands? Don't you think that we have good grip on that area? Our Navy, our Air Force, and all the other things, we have good grip. So what does he mean by saying that? They control. He is guardian of ocean. Which ocean? Which ocean is talking about? Bay of Bengal? Absolutely. Anyway, absolutely not. That's natural. People should understand. People are supposed to understand. And he still claims this. So his only objective is somehow to get China. And there's a wild dream going on that he wants China to make an air base near in what's it district's name? Rampur district, I think. Near to the Siliguri corridor, make it base inside Bangladesh at the border, and with that he's thinking he would achieve something that China make. And China also should understand they should not do such things. They have no hesitation in playing into others' hands, but then they have other compulsions which they should be conscious of, and I think they are conscious of it. Now, China would face recession because things have changed. It's not the erstwhile Biden administration, and China is facing tariff sanctions. And today or tomorrow is the case that China, of course, when the US put 34% tariff on China, China imposes same 34 on US products, and then the President Trump says if you don't revoke it by 8th or 9th, I think, of this month, he is going to make it 50%. And suppose it happens, that US makes 50% tariff on China, what will happen to Chinese products? They have the habit of producing more than what the market demand and keeping it stock. So they try desperately to make all the supplies before the sanction takes place, and they have done that. But once it is sanctions imposed, the Chinese products will be costing more and there will be no buyers. They will have problems. And if it continues, companies, they are not government companies, they are private. China is not communist, as I told you, they are capitalist. Much more vicious kind of a capitalism than you find elsewhere. Much more vicious kind of capitalism than what Marx had thought of. That's what is happening in China. So forget about the communist stories and communist narratives. So these companies are fundamentally not government-owned companies and not really Chinese companies. They have options. They went to China to make productions because the cost of production shall be less. That way they would benefit. And China is also benefited because the company functions in their land. They will have revenues and the people will get employed, etc. But then if this sanction of 50% goes on in 2-3 months' time, if it goes on, a lot of unemployment shall be there. They'll close down the factories, they'll close down the companies, then they will plan a shifting it to elsewhere. Some other countries, and Bharat is a real good option for them, many would come here, most likely. Not that all will come, but many would come here. And like Vietnam, that's why Vietnam got their tariff zeroed, went to Trump. And that's what he allowed, that zero kind of thing, because Chinese company can shift. That possibility, he had let the avenues open. So China would go for economic recessions. If it goes on for at least 6 to 8 months, China would go for economic recessions. Then they will have tears, sweat, poverty and hunger again, back again, as it used to be the case. And this China, we don't know how far will stand up to, live up to the dream of unity. But nonetheless, they will not say anything. They will, before doing, they will should think 100 times. But then this Yunus fellow, I don't know, he's so foolish. Of course, he's not the only one who's foolish. Look at Pakistan. The kind of things they speak, the kind of things they do is absolutely baseless. They're supposed to understand they're going to, they're becoming gluttons for punishment, but they continue to do so. And look at the terrorist outfits, any terrorist outfits. They know that they're going to die, but they go on dying. They don't know. They're not in for redemption. With all their possible thoughts that they live after death, they live for death because they know, they're sure that they will live after death. These are all complicated things. And irredeemable people, irredeemable thoughts, absolutely far from any kind of concept that we normally cherish of civilization. We shall meet again with some other thought. Till then, Namaste, Jai Bharat, Jai Shri Ram.